Chris.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about the Unearthed Arcana 1 D&D character origins.
We're going to try to figure out a little bit about the origins, the options through the whole playtest material, and give you our opinions on this, and maybe we can figure out how this is supposed to work.
All right, time for the tough talk.
Yeah, this is the one that he and I have had many different discussions on, and I believe that this is what is a lot of gaming groups are in one camp or the other, and I don't know if there's a whole lot of middle ground here for this, but this is a big change. We're going to talk about the D20 Test.
So a D20 test is an attack, ability check, or saving throw.
Yes.
Any one of those is what is considered a D20 test now.
And a test must be no less than 5 and no greater than 30. So there's a range in which a test can be.
Yeah, and they say it's warranted. So a DM can ask for a test if it's no less than 5, no greater than 30.
Yeah. Which warranted means that they do have the ability to say yes or no to certain things.
Yeah, I mean,
to a way.
This is their way of saying if the players are asking to do something that is completely out of their grasp, you don't even have to ask for a test. You just say no.
Yeah, but this is where the semantics come in, and this is where people will have it, because now we have to look at this from strictly rules. It's putting down onto paper, not what anybody believes they think they can do, because once something's put on paper, people will take it and run with it.
Correct.
That's the problem with having monsters on paper. Once it's there, you can defeat it.
Yeah.
Same premise, all right? So, start with this. Rolling a 1. If you roll a 1 on a D20, the D20 test automatically fails regardless of any modifiers to the roll. That is, saving throw, attack roll, ability checks, right? So
correct.
If you roll a 1, no matter how good you are at something, period, you will fail. And that is not including what the DC may be. The DC could be a 5.
That is not including what a character's armor class may be. Even if you have a plus 11 to the attack and you roll a 1, you miss.
That is also if the DC on a spell save could be a 10. When you rolled a 1, you fail.
Yeah.
Even if you had a plus 11 to the save, somehow it got through, you fail, which is different than it used to be because it used to only be attack modifiers. When you're attacking somebody, ones mattered. That's it. Otherwise, it didn't.
Yeah, because there were some creatures you could throw at a party, and if the DC was 22 and they had a negative to, let's say, their charisma, even if they rolled a 20, they can't make that save.
We haven't got to the 20 yet, so saying that now, it says whenever you roll a 20 on the D20, the D20 test automatically succeeds regardless of any modifiers to the roll. That's important. A player character also gains inspiration when rolling the 20 thanks to remarkable success. Rolling a 20 doesn't bypass limitations on the test, such as range and line of sight. The 20 bypasses only bonuses and penalties, which is important. That's not the DC of the roll. That is things like cover, like somebody gives you a +2 to the roll, like a guidance or something. Those are bonuses, right?
Right.
But that is not a limitation.
Yeah, as long as they're within the guidelines of what they're trying to do.
Right. My opinion, which I'll go ahead and give my opinion, I firmly believe that one should never be auto failures. I think that should be represented within the DC of something and outside. I don't agree.
Well, hold on. Let's get more specific about this. You're okay with ones being auto fails on attack rolls.
Yeah.
You're not okay with them being auto failures on DC saves and ability checks.
Yes. All right.
So there's the difference in his line.
That's the difference in my line. I'm okay with the ones in the combat because that's a different situation in combat than it is out of combat.
My take on it is that I'm split in the middle because I don't believe anything should automatically succeed on a 20. But I do believe that there is a chance something could automatically fail. Now, granted, some of these things are different. I think the way to fix that, because there are some things that you shouldn't auto-fail. But I do believe that if if you want to run that type of way, it should be one of those things where a 1, you have to roll another D20 test to determine how bad of a fail that was. Because maybe it was just a slip, or maybe you broke your thieves' tools.
See, and this is where I come into a little bit of different. I believe that that should be included. Like, the ability of a character is what the die roll is doing at that particular time is added, not the outside interferences. I think that should be included in the DC to where it would increase the DC to a point that 1s could fail. Because you could still, for the most part, in most cases, a 1 will most likely make you fail. There's very few cases that somebody's gotten well above whatever a DC should be. But there are some times that it's like, why are you making me roll something so insignificant? I have dealt with that in my campaigns where somebody and played in ones where the DM was actually being mean and aggressive towards it and made us roll DC 5 saves. I rolled a 1 because I'm terrible at rolling, and I slipped when I shouldn't have slipped and failed and almost died because of it on a slippery surface when the DC was a 5 and I had a 6 to my save at that time. Or to my check, sorry. All right, that is called. But that test.
But was that an ability check or a saving throw?
That was
I'm just curious.
It was an ability check, not a saving throw.
Okay.
So, and that was when I was a half-orc samurai, and we were having to cross this little ledge, and he was intentionally being difficult.
Yeah.
I think the change to roles being the arbiter of what is possible is disingenuous to what a DM can do, or what a DM's scope can be, right? Because if you automatically say, hey player, anytime you roll one of these 2 numbers, regardless of whatever I did or say is happening, you're going to auto pass, auto succeed, then that takes
a 5% chance for anything to happen.
Yeah, 5% this direction, 5% that direction. So we have a 10% on the die that says that certain things are automatically going to happen regardless of whatever is happening anywhere else. I don't like that. I think that just takes away from it.
And my point is, human beings always make mistakes. So there's always a chance of failure at anything, even if it's something you've done for 10 years. There's always a chance that you could fail on it, but there's not always a chance of success. But being a game, if I have to pick one or the other, I would much rather throw away the idea of auto pass, auto fail, and just say, hey.
And actually, I would actually be okay with no critical misses and no critical hits, no auto passes, no auto successes on anything. You could even take it away from combat and just add stipulations as, say, if you roll D20, such and such happens. But I'm also one that's not as much on the hardcore part of it. I'm more on what the story would entail. And anytime a dice dictates how I tell a story, takes away from it for me, because I'm one of those that likes to play around dice rolls, and I like to role play out situations, and I intentionally impose disadvantages on my own role play, which would force certain rolls to happen. I know other people love rolling dice, but I'm not one of them that enjoys rolling tons of dice or rolling dice repeatedly. I like my dice rolls to be significant in the moment that they're significant, and that's it.
But going with this, I get, the DM determines whether the test is warranted or not. But if we go by these rules, which I dislike more than I like, I dislike a lot more than I like. A bard could go up to a king, and if he gets a 20 on his persuasion check, the king's going to give him his crown and give him his entire throne.
Yeah, that's what that just says by the words. Now, we know that shouldn't be the case, but by rules as written, that's effectively what happens.
Yeah.
Or if you attempt it and you have a 20, you succeed.
You're out there fighting dire wolves, and someone says, sit. Roll a persuasion check. Oh, you got a 20? It sits. What? It's a dire wolf.
Yeah. Now,
this thing does not even understand the common language. why would it sit?
Yeah. Now the classifications of this, it says the limitations on the test that could be determined by the DM, which means the DM can say the limitations. It doesn't understand language, you wouldn't get it. But now you've opened up a whole other window that's going to stop combat. It's going to stop situations, and then you're going to have this long drawn out conversation of what that means. So codifying that in the rules is adding conversations on the table of, well, what does that actually mean? What can I get away with?
This is one of those things, like, I get it. People have been playing this way, but just because they've been playing this way doesn't make it right. I mean, if you want to play that way, hey, by all means, do so. But I believe that automatic passes, automatic fails in these tests is what causes player and DM confliction.
Yes.
And is why we have fewer DMs, because DMs don't want to deal with the headache of the player saying, well, it should be possible.
Yeah.
You know what? It should be possible. I should be allowed to try this. If I get a 20, this should happen because it's going to be a great story. It's not physically possible.
Yeah, I think we should also segue this into the fact that critical hits, which are part of the 20's auto success and auto passes, we all love critical hits, right? But it's only now specifically on weapon or unarmed strike rolls by player characters. Then they only add one of the weapon dice. So no longer will you add in the rogue sneak attack damage or the smite damage. Spells no longer crit. Guiding bolt.
I like that for balance.
For balance. Now, a lot of people disagree with that, and I'm okay with the DMs not necessarily having that because of the design choices they're making with creatures now. Creatures beforehand, they didn't design this way, but the creatures now they're putting out in books have higher damage potentials. They have different tricks and things that they can do in combat that kind of balance out the fact that they didn't have a crit. But when they do crit under the rules we have now, they're just as dangerous as somebody that says, I'm going to be a paladin and smite with a 5th level spell slot and wreck somebody.
On the crit.
On the crit, right?
But Jeremy Crawford's thing is the recharge ability is a creature's crit. Okay, so I'm okay with taking the critical hits away from the paladin smite, sneak attack damage, and saying spells, yes, and saying weapons and unarmed strikes only. I don't like it being taken away from creatures because not every creature has a recharge ability. And just for the sheer fact that majority of the time, players steamroll combat.
Yeah, so I'm kind of on it, and I definitely see your point of view on this. So what they really should look for here is what is going to put players and DMs on the same level playing field. Because right now, the player agency in this is way higher, way higher than the DM's agency. Yeah, they took a few things away from the players, but what they've really done is taken a lot from the possibility on the DMs. It gets them in a weird, there's a weird balancing act here that's happening, but it's creating a divergence in what can be, right? Because monster characters do something entirely different than player characters now, is effectively what's happening. Yeah, they're on some of the different playing fields, but they have to design monster characters completely different than they would design player characters, which is what they're doing now. So the rules for monster characters are now having to be different than the rules for player characters.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Let's face it. Even now, with the way they're designing monsters and NPCs, they are still not stronger than a party of characters. And look at Vecna. Vecna could be taken out by 2 casters.
Yeah.
You have in 1 or 2 turns of combat.
Yeah, because they put rules
Vecna,
in there.
One of the most strongest
creatures ever made
in D&D. A 2 20th level characters could take him out by turn 1 or 2.
And it doesn't even have to be that high because they
could do it at 17th level technically.
I think was a 5th level character and a 13th level character is what they figured out.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
But the point is they're codifying ways things are, and then they're taking out what a DM is allowed to do. So they need to specify what DMs can do and change, and they need to stop specifying what players can do and change and affect. The DM needs more agency. He needs to be able to say, okay, I can control this. And the thing with Vecna is you could say, yeah, Vecna already knows you're coming. He already knows this. He's dealt with somebody who's tried this on him twice. Why would he fall for it the 3rd time? So he's already planned something. You walked a little bit forward, fell into a trap. He already knows this is going to happen. He's got this. So you can't pull that crap off on him. But that's not what is in his stat block. So Vecna can roll a 1 under this, and he fails no matter what it is. And Vecna has legendary resistances, so he's immediately burning legendary resistance because he rolled a 1, even though his check might beat that level 5 character's check, right?
Yeah.
So
my biggest problem with it is
so contentious.
My biggest problem with it is that it's making the game a lot easier for players to steamroll through everything that a DM throws at them. And I'm not gonna lie, if you're the type of players that want to steamroll through everything and you want to play the game on easy mode, by all means do so. But it tends to get boring very quick.
Yeah.
When you have no challenges, when there's nothing for you to strive for and say, what can I do to make my character better so that I will succeed on this, so that I will defeat the big baddie, so that we will overcome this challenge. Just naturally doing it gets stale.
It also takes away from players and gaming groups that are intentionally trying to find ways of making themselves better in certain situations so they don't have to deal with problems. Balancing each other out, saying, yeah, man, I'm going to take perception, be really good at perception, so we have that covered. And then, Chris is going to take knowledge and history, so we always can remember something special about where we're going in, so maybe we might have a clue on what we're doing. But now if you take away some of that build, that possibility, and say, 1s or 20s, which is are on a pass or on a fail, then some of that agency that players have is now gone as well, because it doesn't matter. I mean, as you can tell, there's a lot of weird spots we feel about this. In general, he and I both agree, bad for the game, should not be in it.
I would almost go as far as say take it out of combat as well.
Yeah, I'm more in that camp, because now the more we talk about it, I realize...
Who's going to say a level 1 character has even a remote chance of hitting a dragon, an ancient red dragon
with an AC of 26 and a character that has a +4 to hit? You think he can actually do any damage to that guy? No.
I mean, there's a chance, 5%.
5%, but really, no. That dragon will look at him and go, bro, scales for thousands of years that have turned into as hard as stone, and I live in lava. Your puny dagger does nothing to me. I mean, that's a little bit extreme, but that kind of gets the point across, right? Like, I would be more apt to say, don't give the 20s. Just say, hey, on a 20 roll, this happens. So it's not a critical hit or something else, but maybe the 20 giving inspiration, which we kind of glossed over this, rolling a 20 to give inspiration.
I actually like that.
Is actually good. Because if you take away the fact that all 20s are auto successes and all 1s are auto fails, and you say, hey, if you roll a 20, man, one next roll you get is going to be a 20 because you did so well, or you get a roll inspiration, you did so well, right? An advantage, that's great. That actually balances out a little bit, and that actually makes critical hits more possible.
I actually think they should also do this in the reverse way, where if you do it, like if you're role playing and you try an ability check and you roll a 1, if they're going to say to auto fail, well, then it's also going to give you disadvantage on your next ability check. Because typically when someone messes up and they mess up so bad,
they mess up again immediately.
Like they just dropped and they're so worried and everything around them, and they just keep fumbling.
So really, ignore that's the fix to this, right? Ones don't automatically mean they fail. So even a person in my things who, if I said I have a 15 in acrobatics, there's no way I'm slipping on a DC 5, but you make me roll the check. Well, the one time, I'm going to pass this check, but you made me roll. I rolled a 1. Well, I got so shaky on what I did because I got out of it that my next roll I roll is disadvantage. That can mean something. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have failed that. I almost failed that roll. Now I'm getting disadvantage on my next roll is actually a big deal. And it still fits where, hey, if a character's really good at something, it could still affect how well, one can still affect how well they're going to play later.
Yeah, like for instance, if you're that thief and you're trying to pick the lock, yeah, you've got a +10 to lock picking. It's a DC 7, but you roll the 1 and it's like, okay, I passed it, but why was this so difficult?
Yeah, why did I just have problems on this? I got it. Like I had no problem. Yeah,
Wait a
but
minute.
now you have to roll perception to see if somebody found out, and you're paying too much attention to the lockpick. You didn't hear that the guard right behind you is going to club you over the head. That might be the fix to this. 1s impose disadvantage on the next roll. 20s give you advantage on or give you an inspiration for a roll you choose later.
Yeah, I
don't
like
auto
that.
success, don't auto fail. Give the ability later on, so the impact of the roll is not immediately felt. It's felt story-wise. It's felt in the role play of the situation, not in the heat of the moment. Oh, now we have to figure out why this one is an auto fail. What happened? Why is this 20 a pass?
Yeah, I actually do like that a lot better.
And that actually would make the talk with the king, our example, the talk with the king, if you rolled a 20 to persuade him of his crown, he might, I'm not going to give you a crown, but, hey, ask me again later if you'd like to be my seneschal. I like the way you speak. I might not give you the crown, but I'm going to give you a better role, and then he gets advantage to that role, and maybe it leads to something different.
Yeah, it's like all right, let's talk about this. Maybe you become the right-hand man. Maybe you become an advisor.
Yeah. But that, from a role-playing standpoint, that's way better than just an automatic pass or fail. Because remember, guys, this is a role-playing game, not a randomly generated dice game. This is first and foremost role-playing. Everything should be based, in my opinion, should be based around making the role-playing better, making it more fluid. The dice are only supposed to enhance that and create, different situations for us to role play with and off of, because that's where the fun happens.
Well, okay, but here's the big point. If you're making characters and you want everything to be on easy mode, how many of you out there watch movies and TV shows where the character is Mary Sueing everything? How enjoyable is that show? How long do you stay watching that show?
Yeah,
you don't. It gets canceled quick, and there's no, like, you got to have your ups and downs, the climactic high, the character's downfall, their rise back up.
Yeah, then there has to be a level. There have to be, even if they go down, there has to be a chance for them to come back up. You can't knock them all the way down, or else they get discouraged. And at the same time, if they get all the way to the top, where else do they have to go? So there has to be that middle ground of difficulty, some easy, some low, but it has to be fluid and not dictated just, this is what it is.
But yeah, just a 5% chance that I'm automatically going to succeed no matter what. All right, guys, let's get together. Everybody roll a persuasion check. There's 5 of us here. One of us is probably going to roll a 20, and that dragon's going to give us its horde.
And we can go even worse than this. Hey, I'm a diviner. I'm going to get extra rolls that I can use. I'm going to give advantage on this roll. We're going to do the help. We're going to guidance. We're going to do this.
I rolled a 20 on one of these. That's an automatic pass on whatever I want.
Yeah, like just getting several layers of effects and getting to where, and that's not necessarily bad. If you guys can plan that out, that's great. But at any time of 20 saying, it's just bad. It's not good. Just automatic 20s, automatic 1s, fails and successes. Just it takes away from the game.
We could be wrong, and if we're wrong, please tell us in the description and let us know why you believe we're wrong. But I firmly believe that auto passes and auto fails on these D20 tests is going to lead to being fewer DMs at the table. More players, fewer DMs.
Fully agree. And the critical hits, I mean, like
the ones in combat don't bother me as much as the other ones.
Yeah, it's just
the saves and the ability checks.
Yeah, they'll design it out, although it's kind of. The big thing is come on, just this isn't good. Get rid of that. Figure it out better. Use something different. So anyway, if you think different, or you agree, or you have a situation, you should tell us down there in the comments about what you've dealt with.
Until then, guys, later.
Later.